Hey, what's up? It's Chris Young for Camping World and Gander RV and Outdoors. You excited to take your RV out? Well, pump the brakes. We got the top 22 essential tips to get your RV prepped before you even pull it out of the driveway. Now, these are going to be broken out into different time periods. First up, you want to try to plan this about 3 to 6 months out if you can. Tip number 1, check the roof. Be sure to get on top of that roof. Look for any cracks, leaks around the seals, around the vents, around the AC, and make sure everything looks okay. Number 2, check those tires. Look for any wear, tear, or any leaks. They do lose about 2 to 3 PSI per month in storage. Also, while you're there, check the lugs, see if you need to grease those easy lube axles, and remember the spare. That's the one thing we tend to forget when checking the tires. While you're down looking at the tires, just take a quick gander under the RV. Make sure that there's no holes, leaks, or unwanted critters underneath or even in the underbelly. Number 3, if it's a motorhome, be sure to check the engine fluids and the lights, the blinkers, the horn, etc. Do that true safety check. If you have a tow vehicle, try to do the same thing. Check your tow vehicle, make sure all fluids are topped off, and you've performed the proper vehicle maintenance to make sure that when you're ready to tow that RV, your vehicle is ready to go. Tip number 4, check to make sure the hitch and the connections work, as well as the lights and especially the brakes. Might not be a bad idea at this point to just give it just a quick test tow or a quick pull out back and forth if you have a motorhome. Next, check to make sure that the power, the water, and the circuits are working properly while doing all of those checks. Tip number 5, check the slides and awnings to make sure they work and have no damage. This might be a good idea at this point to kind of go through and thoroughly wash the RV. Look for any leaks around the doors, the windows, any cracks or chips that might lead to some damage. Next up, inspect the propane hoses and seals for cracking. If they're okay, go one step further and do a bubble test for any leaks. Number 7, de-winterize if necessary. Inspect that water heater. Make sure to put the drain plug back in if you took it out when you were winterizing the vehicle. Check the panel and the wiring for any disconnections or dry rot. If you have a gas electric fridge, remember to check the panel for any wiring damage or rot there as well. If you haven't sanitized the fresh tank in more than 6 months, now's a good time to do that as well. Tip 8, check your batteries. Look for corrosion and recharge. If you're using the tow vehicle, be sure to do the same there with your batteries. Number 9, inspect and run the generator. Test all of your electric and propane appliances to make sure that they're working properly. Running that generator is a good idea at this point because it gives you enough time before you take your trip. If something does need service or fixed, you can do it. All right, a few months out, now we're down to 1 week from pulling the chocks with the next few tips. Tip 10, reconfirm all the fluid levels for the motorhome, the tow vehicle, and generator. Make sure that they're good to go. It's a good time to also recheck your RV battery for charge. Tip 12, fill or exchange propane cylinders. Next up, inspect your fire safety systems. Check the smoke alarm, carbon monoxide detector, LP detector, and fire extinguishers. Are they full? Is everything working properly and all the detectors working properly? That's a good tip to check. Now we've gone from 1 week to the day before taking off with tip number 14, what I like to call the double check day. Look for the tire pressure, make sure the awnings are secured, the exterior mounted toys, the bikes, the kayaks, the coolers, everything is there and securely mounted. If you don't have walkie-talkies, now's a good time to pick them up. If you do, now's a good day to charge them up. Tip 15, clean all the windows, mirrors, and cameras, especially those backup monitors. You want to make sure that when you're going down the road, you can actually see, especially if your RV's been in storage, it might have a layer of dust blocking that camera. All right, good job. Now we've come down to departure day. I know you're excited to get your RV out, so let's get to it. Tip 16, are all the appliances off and stored? Remember the fridge, that's probably the most important. Tip 17, make sure all the hoses and connections are disconnected. Remember the propane, you don't want to lose that going down the road. Next up, check all the storage compartments. It's important at this point to go in and physically put your hands on these compartments inside and out. Lock them if necessary. Number 19, check any antenna or vents to make sure they aren't up or open before pulling out. The last thing you want to do is get to that first bridge and realize you might need a new shower vent. Number 20, raise any jacks or stabilizers. Tip 21, if needed, put some potable water in the fresh tank, especially if you're planning on using the RV during the travels. Now's a good time to do that. And last but not least, tip 22, do a good little walk around to the RV. You've gone through all the steps. You want to make sure that everything is good to go. And this is probably the most important step. Walk around, look at everything, put your hands on everything, and make sure that it is secure and ready to go. Now I got a bonus tip for you as well. Good Sam members can actually redeem a website deal for a free 22-point inspection and diagnostics from Camping World or Gander. Now, at any time during this prep process, if you do not feel comfortable checking or working on your RV, that's why we have over 170 service centers across the country. Bring your RV to any Camping World or Gander, and we will be sure to help you get your RV ready to go. To find these tips and much more information, check out campingworld.com or ganderrv.com.